Hey guys, welcome to Imminent Threat Solutions. Today we're going to be relaunching our Knot of the Week series. We've been recording Knot of the Week videos dating back since 2009, but unfortunately back then we didn't have HD and we couldn't afford better camera equipment to shoot those Knot of the Week videos in higher quality. So today we're coming back to reshoot those videos as well as add some more details into the Knot of the Week videos. So today we're going to be starting with the square knot, and I'll be walking you through not only the square knot but some variations of that as well. So let's get right into it. Okay, with the square knot, what you've got is a knot that can be strong when properly backed up, as well as tied in a few different variations. So let's go through those. First of all, the regular square knot is a right over left, and then a left over right. So I'll cross the right end over the left end and twist, and then I'll cross the left end over the right end and twist. And that is a square knot. So the checkpoint in this is that you have two independently moving loops that interface like that. Back to what I mentioned as far as backing up a knot goes, what you want to do is simply tie something that is very much like an overhand knot. So you're going to go over the standing part of the line here with the tail or the working end, and then come back through that loop, creating a backup in one end. And what that'll help with is that if the knot wants to pull through, which I can't, sometimes I can get paracord to do this, sometimes you can't. So if it were to work its way through, that knot would almost act as a stopper to prevent that from pulling through. So let me do the other end real quick. So again, coming around with the working end over the standing part of the line, back through, creating a backup knot. So you want to have a backup in each end, and as I mentioned, the closer that you can get these backup knots to the main knot, the more effective those will be if it decides to slip. So let's work on some other variations here. If you were to tie the square knot the wrong way, it would turn into what's called a granny knot. So if I go right over left and then go right over left again, I would get the granny knot. And that's, as you can see, slips quite a bit. It's not very strong in itself, and just the wrong way to tie the square knot to begin with. So there's some variations of the square knot as well. So if I were to tie right over left, left over right, and get myself a square knot, I can actually start this by undoing it a little bit and feeding an end back through and tightening again. What that gives you there is a slipped square knot. So now by just pulling on this, it kind of gives me a quick release on my square knot. You can also do that as you're tying too. So right here, as I'm bringing this back around, I can pull through like this and stop it there and create the slip part of the slip square knot. You can actually do a double slip square knot as well. So if I were to take this end here, and this end here, straighten those out a little bit, I'll get the double slip square knot. You can see just by pulling on those, it releases like that. There's also what's called a thief's knot, and a thief's knot dates back to many, many years ago. And if you look at the structure of a regular square knot, remember I talked about the two loops that are created. Well, with a typical square knot, what you've got are your working ends on one side. So on this, they're to the top. If I were to change this around a little bit, I'll keep my loop here, and I'll keep my working end there. If I were to turn this around here and now come over this side and around like this, now I've got one working end on the top and one working end on the bottom. So it creates what's called a thief's knot. So now if someone were to come by and retie this because they saw it quickly and said, oh, that's a square knot, I'll just retie that. If they were to get into a sack or a duffel or something that was tied back in the olden days, they would try to tie a square knot again, which, as you can see, common square knot has those working ends on the same side, and that's not a square knot. I don't know what I just tied. So if I were to tie a square knot again, has the working ends on one side versus the thief's knot, which has the working ends on the opposite side. So those are some variations of the square knot and how you can tie them.